Okay, I see that we are still having people joining. So we'll stay and wait for a little bit.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Where is that? I believe we could get started now.
Yeah, you think so? Okay. I see that there are still participants joining, but we can perhaps slowly start the session. You're right. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world at the moment. And a very warm welcome to day one of Climate Action and Education Forum, hosted by the MIA Foundation. My name is Esther, and I have the pleasure to be serving as a moderator for today's session. Joining us today will be educators, leaders, policymakers, researchers, innovators, and entrepreneurs from more than 35 countries in total. So, before we go any further, I want to say this clearly. Whether you are joining from a classroom or an office or community center, you're not just an audience today, but you're a participant for this forum. And this forum is really made for you, and we want this to be as interactive as possible. So, to start off, I would welcome everyone to share their social media in the group chat, which is currently open. You can share your LinkedIn's, Instagrams, and let's connect with each other. Let's get to know each other. And the chat will always remain open for any questions that may arise during the session. So, guys, don't hesitate to just introduce yourselves in the chat. Let's get to know each other. Let's connect. All of us are entrepreneurs, decision makers, policymakers. So let's connect, exchange, and grow our networks together. So first of all, I will, as always, ask you that the basis will always be respect. So please keep it respectful in the chat. Um, Also, please keep your microphones muted throughout the sessions. At the end, we will open everything to questions. And and also, please make sure that you're joined using your registered name and email address. So a few quick practical points before we start is about the certificate. So your certificate of participation is available for eligible delegates who actively participated during both sessions. To qualify, we ask that you attend and remain and engage for a minimum of 2 hours across the forum sessions. Participation is verified through attendance records and your registration details. So again, please stay joined under the registration name. Second, don't hesitate to join our official WhatsApp community. We will share the link in the chat. And that is where you will find resources, session links, post forum, follow-up will also be shared, as well as many other different opportunities. And third, let's try to take this forum beyond Zoom. This forum is not only happening online, but through the hashtag 30,000 Action campaign, we are inviting every single one of you to share your climate story, your climate strategy, and projects with your community and your network. Um, and also share your reflections from these 2 days and one practical commitment to climate action. So for today's team and what we will discuss today. So what are we here to do? For today and tomorrow, the 26th and the 27th of August, this forum brings together global community around the center theme of climate smart education for a sustainable future, empowering people, partnerships, and innovation to end extreme poverty. The team deliberately connects two things that are too often discussed in separate rooms: climate action and education, and it links both to a third: ending extreme poverty. Because the truth is, we cannot build climate resilience without preparing people for it, and we cannot prepare people for it without asking who currently gets left out of that preparation. Across these 2 days, we have 10 sessions, more than 70 speakers and contributors from 35 countries, and representation from 4 United Nations youth constitutions and global networks. And this forum exists because of partnerships from this firm and with also work from our partners. So, what does education need to become in a climate changing world? How do we prepare people not only to understand climate crisis, but to build solutions for it? How can technology, partnerships, finance, and innovation support communities without deepening the inequalities that already exist? Those are the questions that we will be asking during these sessions. And now I think it is highly time to introduce today's speakers. We will have three amazing distinct speakers. First, our first speaker is Dr. Saravanan, who is a global health and climate system leader whose work spans government, academia, research, and international policy. He has led statewide public health implementations in Tamil Nadu, serving a population of more than 77 million people, and has spent close to 70 years in academia, teaching and mentoring over 1,500 students. A Harvard Medical School trained global health researcher, his work sits precisely where our team sits: climate and health, education and implementation, science and health equity. In other words, he works at the point where policy meets population scale, exactly the perspective this forum needs. Our second speaker will be Professor Chidi Maduka. Professor Maduka is a professor of strategic management, specializing in strategic thinking and planning with approximately 35 years of experience as a lecturer, public speaker, and leadership and management consultant. He currently serves as a Nigerian country chairman of the Pan-African Tourism Board and as a dean of the Faculty of Humanities at Sekin Open University in Nigeria. He's a fellow of the Nigeria Institute of Management, president and chairman of Council of the Institute for Promotion and Maintenance Culture in Nigeria, and chief executive of FC Consultancy Limited. He brings us something essential: the discipline of strategy, how vision actually becomes execution. And finally, it is my great pleasure to introduce, lastly, Mr. Ayomide Iwalaiye, founder and Global Chief Executive Officer of the MIA Foundation Global, the convener of this forum, and the person whose vision brought this community together across these 2 days. So without further ado, I will open the floor to our first speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Esther. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from across the world. I'm delighted to be with you as we open the Climate Action and Education Forum 2026. Gatherings like this brings together people who usually work in different work, be it educators, researchers, policymakers, practitioners, young leaders, and communities. But the problems we are trying to solve seldom respect those divisions. And climate change certainly doesn't. It does not respect the boundaries we build between sectors, and I've seen that in public health systems, in classrooms, and in my own research. A heat wave is not only a climate event, it can disrupt a clinic and it can cost someone a day of income. It can even change how a person works and become a reason a child stays home from school. So, in my work, one lesson was hard to ignore. Heat enters the whole family of a society. And to be more specific, every family is affected. It changes how people sleep, work, care, recover, and make decisions. Sectors that write separate reports about health, education, and poverty are often describing the same issue of climate change, education, poverty in siloed manner. But the important factor here to be considered is they are not different or they're not siloed. We are all the same, addressing the same family and same community and the same society. And that is why climate smart education matters. And it's why adding another chapter to the climate change on the textbook isn't enough anymore. That's called awareness. But education has to do more. First, we need to teach our world people are actually living in and not the world of education systems have built for. So there's a lot of difference between what exists and what we are being taught on. So we need to understand that difference first. Extreme heat, food insecurity, changing disease pattern is all dynamic and it's been changed over the years, which is not maybe in the textbook or doesn't seem to be really updated on the textbook. So students should learn to investigate the problems around them and try solutions with people from different fields and ask the questions that matter. Did it work? The goal is not simply to prepare young people for the changing climate, but to prepare them to make decisions inside it. That really matters. Because innovation doesn't always mean expensive technology. Sometimes it's better curriculum, or sometimes it's giving communities the information they can actually use, and sometimes it can be just simply designing a solution with the community and for the community. Second, I would like to highlight on the education that cannot remain the work of schools and universities alone. It's no more just something which is on textbook or published papers. The problem young people are inherently already seeing it are not fit neatly or not fit inside something which we call one institution or a specific domain. The education has to cross those boundaries too, because government should bring real public problem to students and researchers and young fresh minds, because universities make their research useful, which usually stays most of the time on papers and in journals, but that's no more a choice. It has to reach to the communities and to the young minds to make it more implementable, and which is more of talking about implementation science and how it really works in the communities should help decide what a useful solution looks like, and young minds and people like you need to be in the room before decisions get made and not invited afterwards to applaud them. So that really matters and that really changes the equation now. We often call young people the leaders of tomorrow, but I would retire that phrase because we already seen a lot of leading young minds today. They are building communities, doing research, or solving any problems that the adults have been spent years deciding and discussing about it. So They question whether the institutions are ready to trust them with something that matters. And last but not the least, we need to judge ourselves by what happens after the conversation. We have no shortages of conferences and we are very good at panels. And we can probably produce a 40-page strategy just before lunch. But a family living through an extreme heat cannot adapt to these declarations. A student cannot build a future on a slogan. So here's what I would ask every institution in this room. Change something you teach. Build one partnership that kind of produces something people can actually use and also measure what actually changed. So instead of only asking what the future will look like, I would ask one harder question here. What are we willing to do today to shape it? Because the test of climate smart education is not how much people know about climate change. It is what they're able to do because of what they know. With that note, I would like to thank the community for giving me the opportunity and be here. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to. Thank you so much, Dr. Saravanan. It was very much appreciated. I especially liked your point where you underlined that young people are not just the future, but we are already present today. We're already solving problems in innovative ways today. And I definitely agree that education and climate education especially needs to cross the boundaries of just school, because at the end of the day, we also experience life also outside of schools, and we should really need to broaden our knowledge um, in many different ways. So I think it's also the role of the institutions to trust us in a certain way and to collaborate together with us and not just let us applaud at the end when the decisions are made. I really like this point. Thank you so much. So I will then introduce our second speaker. Before that, I will just ask if anyone has any questions for Dr. Saravanan. I see that many people are connecting together, but not yet any questions. So for now, I will ask our second speaker, Professor Chidi Maduka, if you are present with us today. Professor Chidi. Perhaps some technical issues. I will try to contact them ASAP. So perhaps we can have Ayomide already continue and jump on in.
All right, thank you very much, Esther. Thank you for the introduction. I believe Professor Chidi is having a bit of a network issue. He just sent me a direct message recently. So I'm pretty much excited for this event. I'm pretty much excited for what's going on around the world. Basically, we have about um, 4 youth constituencies joining us from the UNFCCC Yongo down to the from the UNFCCC Yongo down to the UNEP CYMG and the UNCCD Youth Caucus, and then finally the UNMGCY, which is much of the larger youth constituency from the UNHQ. So we are very much excited that everyone is able to join this morning. According to our time zone right now, it's 8:27 a.m. or according to our time zone in the evening or in the afternoon from wherever part of the world we're joining from. I'm really excited and elated that we get to make this happen leading up to COP. COP is happening in November in Turkey. Hopefully, we get to meet some of us in person in Turkey. And basically, we also have other event leading up to that. We have the Africa Sustainability Week, which we are also the host of, and then a couple of other partnership activities, which we look forward to everyone being a part of this. So I'm just going to start with my own presentation. Basically, just going to be more of a welcome note because we still have about 10 more sessions, 5 today, 5 tomorrow. And I believe they're going to be very impactful. We have carefully thought out and selected all of the speakers because all of the speakers are doing amazing stuff in climate action spaces across their respective regions, from the North America to Europe to Asia. We're even excited for the Chinese community joining us for this forum. So we're excited that we've unlocked the China mainland, and they're also excited to be a part of this. So I'm just gonna say ni hao, xie um, privyet, spasiba, and hola, como estas, and all of the languages I could say for everyone on the call. Bonjour. Representative of all of our partners, because we also kind of identified that about roughly about 70 plus partners showed interest, and we've also brought them on board aside the youth constituency, some of which you can see some of the logos featured on our flyers, and from all of the countries right now. It has gone beyond the 35 plus countries. When I went through the spreadsheet again and the stat and the metrics, I'm like, we just wanted to have just 2 days discussions. We're already going huge again, and we're pretty much excited that it's not just limited to educators. Policymakers are part of this, researchers are part of this, innovators are part of this, climate practitioners. Some of my colleagues from Yongo and all of the other constituencies are also part of this, entrepreneurs, youth leaders, members, and members at large from the global audience. I just want to say, with great humility and gratitude and deep sense of responsibility, welcome you again to the Climate Action and Education Forum. Today, we're not just going to be having random discussions. We've seen the title of the team. We're basically going to be focusing on climate smart education, and its interconnection with building partnerships, building people, building innovation, because that's what we are very huge on in May Foundation. We are focused on just helping young people and then leading to that overall impact of ending extreme poverty. And you must have noticed, if you've been following me foundation for a while, we're very huge on creating opportunities for other people. We're very huge on just lifting other people to have that expected goal of just creating a better livelihood for others. And we've also kind of identified why we're having the CAF this year. Also, kind of identify in the global south, which is because this is where we're kind of majorly focused in May Foundation. About 70% are majorly affected by climate action. So it's not something we can just throw aside or just put on the side and just say, all right, we have other serious things to do. I believe yearly we have global efforts for COP, for COIS, for other various COPs that happens. So we could definitely take action. So, and beyond this forum, this is also one thing we want to put out there. Beyond this forum, it's not just a discussion. We don't just want, because sometimes we make it known to the UN representatives during COPs, like for an example, the one happening in November in Turkey. We made it known that we don't just want to come and make commitments and make what's it called, just discuss about goals, and then after the conference, nothing has been done. No, we're not having that. Here, we want to take actions. So we currently have the 30,000 action. Please join us. It's a social media campaign. Beyond that, would also be having a couple of school outreach is by our country directors, if you're within those regions, and we're pretty and super excited for you joining us once again. Like I mentioned, it's also over 2 days. So we're going to be having the first session over the next couple of 3 hours, and then the next day, tomorrow, having about 5 more sessions. So without further ado, I believe the session one's speakers and moderators are all set to kickstart the program. I want to appreciate and encourage us to take responsibility. Climate action, it's our individual action. It starts with us. It starts with what we're doing. It starts with our community. It starts with our local action. Whatever it is we're doing will definitely lead up to that global recognition, to that global effort. Starting with local and then taking shape at the global stage. So we have gathered to discuss climate smart education, and we must mean more than adding a chapter about climate change to a textbook. It must mean more than organizing an awareness program and issuing certificates, even though we're going to issue certificates, but it must go deeper than that. We must transform the way people learn. I think one of my friends, they're doing amazingly well in this climate cardinals based in the US. They transcribe about 109 languages, climate literatures, climate textbooks, climate informations, the kind of transcript, all of them into about 109 languages. So this is beyond textbook, this is beyond classroom, this is learning about what the world is currently experiencing. The world, the planet Earth is currently degrading, and we all need to take actions. This is our home, except we want to join Elon to move to Mars, except for that. And definitely it's just the billionaires that will have access to the tickets to fly the giga spaceship down to Mars. So this is our planet, and we need to protect it. We need to take care of it, starting from our local environment, leading up to our global effort. So we need education system that prepare learners. Is most of the things we're going to be discussing over the couple of few hours and next day, not only to understand climate crisis, but to solve problems within it. All right. The skills we all require, because all of us are growing, all of us are taking actions, the opportunities we need to access, the institution we need to belong to. I believe some of the representatives from this youth constituency will be joining us. So there are also going to be links where we could join those constituency, because we all want everyone to be a part of this. For an example, the UNFCCC Yongo, the UNEP CYMG, UNCCD Youth Caucus, the UNMGCY, we all want us to be on these platforms. Basically, that's how we connect concurrently, possibly like November in Tokyo, during the UN General Assembly in the New York by September. Basically, that's how we meet. So basically, we would love everyone to be a part of these constituencies. All right. Finally, I would just love to mention that what should we do? I just want to ask us these questions before I pass on to Esther, and then we kickstart session one. So the questions putting out there right now is, what should we do? I believe we've all, some of us are doing amazing things. I believe from the metric also, we saw that some do not even have basic knowledge of climate action and education. Some are already doing amazing. So it's different audience right now, but as a general overview and just pushing that out there, what should we do? What should we do? If we are doing if we are taking some actions already, are we taking the right action? So what should we do? We have like decades of reports. If you follow the IPCC, it's more of the council focus on the interplanetary and intergovernmental policies. There's decades and decades of reports. There are negotiations during the last COP30 that happened in Brazil last year. Negotiations and commitment of hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet still, it's almost like we just came to just discuss, and then we just flew back home, and then we contributed to the carbon flying to Brazil. Flying to Brazil, we entered plane. So what are we doing? So we want to go beyond the discussion and ensure we're actually making progress. We're actually making a difference. We're actually making this change that we say we really want for our planet. So beyond the target, beyond the pledges, the more urgent question is, who will do what, and how will we know it has been done, and how are we going to know they are really making changes? So as we move from CAF 2026 to ASW 2026 in November before COP31, I don't just want us to simply say that we attended another forum. There's another African food system happening in Kigali in a few days. I believe some of the speakers also are part of that. But I want us to leave this forum with something more powerful: commitments, actions, executions, commitment from individuals, commitment for organizations, commitment from schools. We're also aware that some schools are part of this, universities, commitment from businesses, commitments for government and policymakers, commitment from young people, regardless of your age. We have 13-year-old teens, advocates, also part of us, 16, 14, 13. Everyone, we all need to take actions together, and commitments that can be tracked beyond this room. Commitment that can track beyond this room, because once this forum ends, no one is tracking everyone and progress. But let us be accountable to ourselves. All right. And just in summary, I'll just say thank you once again for being a part of this. Thank you once again for joining us, basically. So as we begin, I would just love to invite us to bring your curiosity, bring your questions, get the chats engaging. Let's share our LinkedIn. Let's connect beyond this. This is also a networking hub. So let's share our link trees, our link in bio, our LinkedIn profile, our Instagram, and let's just follow each other, connect with our work. Let's just be together. Bring questions, bring experiences, bring challenges, and most importantly, bring your willingness to act. Don't just join the forum because of the certificate or because of the connections, but because we also want to take actions for the climate, SDG 13 climate action, climate change. And it will be to make it a huge, massive difference, because we also at the May Foundation, we are very passionate about the ripple effect all of this creates. So we are pretty much excited about that. And without further ado, thank you so much again. Thank you, Dr. Saravanan. Dr. Saravanan is actually one of the vice chair of the May Foundation Advisory Council. Dr. Maduka, I don't know if he's on the call yet, he's also a member of the Advisory Council from Nigeria. Dr. Saravanan is from the US and India. And I myself am privileged to found the May Foundation and then director of the CAF. And Esther, here moderating the opening ceremony, is our co-chief strategy and impact officer from Luxembourg. And we're pretty much excited for everyone joining, and we hope to continue conversations beyond here. Thank you very much, and I hope we have a beautiful forum. Thank you very much. Over to you, Esther.
Yes, thank you so much, Ayomide. I couldn't have explained it any better. Small question. So now the moderator, we will continue with Suleiman Musa. Is that correct? If I am following the agenda.
Yes, correct. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we open today with 4 questions. What does education need to become in a climate change world? How do we prepare people not only to understand climate crisis, but to build solutions to it? How can technology, partnerships, finance, and innovation serve communities without deepening the inequalities that already exist? And how do we move from conversation to collective action? And without further ado, I will invite Suleiman Musa to continue with this session. Thank you very much.